airwaves ignite for the chosen few. He's got the voice, the spirit, and the fire. Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, taking us higher. He built a palace of cryptids in this lonely space. True Cryptid Encounters, volumes 1 and 2. Coming from the darkness, tell your own tale. He's starting the job out past the setting sun. He's Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, until the work is done. It's a Bigfoot pirate rock and roll show. On the airwaves, watch the legend grow. Come join the beyond and hear the wild scream. Yeah! Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, time to open up your mind. Get ready to rock and roll. Yeah.
Yes, indeed, mateys are. If that does not pump you up for the show, I do not know what will. BMR and beyond. Joining me tonight is the lovely Brandy. Chris has got the night off. Thanks to the lovely Brandy, I got a great guest. Stevie Strings is joining me tonight. We're doing cryptids all night long from Florida and Florida's Everglades. It's going to be a fantastic show. Thanks to each and every single one of you for coming on in. If this is your first time here, please subscribe to Bigfoot to Michigan Rob on YouTube, The Blondes and the Booze, Texas Front Porch, Donnie Joe Says Stuff, Paranormal Paul, Monica Rollins, Our Paranormal World, Truth or Tinfoil. Yes, that's right. Please do so. Hit that like button, leave a comment, and enjoy the show. It's going to be a great one, as I made mention to. Don't forget my books on Amazon. Bigfoot, Michigan Rob presents True Cryptid Encounters, Book 1, Book 2. Simply type Bigfoot, Michigan Rob in your Amazon browser. And please leave a review. Please leave a review if you would. I do appreciate that. Also, mateys, as you know, the Super Chat is open, a great way to help support what we all do around here. You, mateys, can become BMR pirates. Arr! Join the many, join the few. Depending on your point of view, you get a picture of good old BMR sporting a bandana in the chat room. Yes, that's what you get. And thank you to Gary Pop Spikes. That's right. 5 new gifted pirates to start the show already from Gary Pops. I love you. Thank you so much for the support and your awesome skills as a moderator. Appreciate you. All right. Well, you know what? With that being started, I'm going to float on over and pull up Miss Brandy from Studio C in Missouri.
In Missouri.
I know you don't like that.
I die every time you say that, Missouri.
I know. It's the Missouri boat ride.
You know, we're both from Michigan. It's Missouri.
I know it's Missouri. I just say that because I know it gets a rise out of you. But I tell you where I first learned that term, to be honest with you. The outlaw Josie Wales with Clint Eastwood, when he sent all the people, the posse that was after him, they came across on this barge and it was connected to a rope, and he pulls up his rifle, lines it up. Well, I'm gonna put them on the Missouri boat ride, and he shot his rifle, snapped the cord, and they went floating down the Missouri River.
The Missouri River.
Out of harm's way. That's right. That's what happened.
Well, did we have this problem the other night about Appalachian and Appalachian?
Yes, we did. Appalachian.
But it's not. It's the Appalachian.
It's the Appalachian.
Yeah, the Appalachian Mountains. Yes.
And I got to tell you, the people that watched our show the other night, for those tuned in, well, that was a great show regardless. I got so many comments about how we were pronouncing it. And the people from Appalachia were really the biggest commenters. Oh, you guys crack me up. You guys cut it up, but it's really pronounced blah blah blah. And they're typing it phonetically in the comments how you really say it. I'm like,
Well,
okay,
okay. I mean, that's how you say it, but
yeah,
From Missouri.
yeah, yeah, Missouri. I don't know. It is what it is. Hey, I find from doing since we started doing all these podcasts and stuff for quite a few years now.
Yes.
It's interesting to hear everybody's different dialect and tone when they come on the show because we get them
Yeah.
from all of the United States and the world, right?
Right. Well, see, I really don't fit in anywhere. I'm originally from Michigan,
Yeah.
and then I ended up in the South, and I've been in the South longer than I was ever in Michigan. And so I just don't fit in anywhere because I got a little bit of the South, a little bit of the North, and it just doesn't mix anywhere. I don't
You
know
know,
where to go.
and I hear you, Brandy, but you fit in perfectly with me. You know that.
Yes.
And
Yes.
people tell me I have Rob, you live in Michigan, but you sound like you're from Chicago. I did not know the Chicagoans. I didn't know that they had a dialect of any sort. I don't know. I thought they sound the same to me.
I guess from living up there, I mean, they do sound the same,
Yeah. Mm,
to us.
yeah.
No, but then, you're thinking about Michigan, you're thinking about the upper UP, and then you're thinking about lower Michigan.
Yes.
2 different dialects going on.
Yes. The Yoopers of the UP, they do
The
not sound like we do
Yoopers.
down
Yeah.
south.
Yeah, the Yoopers.
They almost sound like they're from Minnesota.
Or North, what is that? North Dakota.
North
Yeah, North
Dakota.
Dakota.
North
Yeah.
Dakota. North
Something.
Dakota. However.
I can't even say it. It doesn't really matter.
Sad. I remember hearing that now one of the movies I did see, Brandy, that you might have seen is Fargo.
Yes, I did see that a long time ago. Now I don't remember a lot of it, but
I mean,
I
I
mean,
remember it was a great movie, but I do remember, boy, I said, man, they sound funny the way they talk.
they do. They do sound funny, and you're like,
Yeah.
where did they ever come up with that dialect?
I have no idea. No idea where they got that from.
I don't know. I don't know.
Um,
Somebody,
yeah.
someone.
We do have a great guest, Brandy. Before I pull him up, I want to show you guys something he sent me, which is pretty cool. Kind of outlines some of his what he has going on. I think I got it here somewhere.
Yeah.
Ain't that ain't it? Hang on.
That
Oh,
ain't it.
no, right here, Stevie Strings. He's the rockin' squatchin' roller. He's also known as CreatureMan by his Floridian team and all the people that follow him around the world. So that's pretty sweet. I like his logo, and I
I
like
like it.
he's a rock and roller, kind of like we like our rock and roll as well.
That's right.
So with that being said, I'm gonna bring up our guest.
Hey,
Hey, Stevie, welcome to the show, brother.
Welcome.
thank you. And we're from the far south, Florida.
Yeah.
But we didn't talk about
Well,
the
see, there's
Cajuns,
another
but
spot.
occasionally.
Yeah, but Stevie, I've been in Florida a handful of times in my life, and to me, people in Florida sound just like myself or Brandy. I don't think there's
Yeah,
any
they do.
yeah.
Yeah,
It is.
it's a
Well,
melting pot.
there's little
Florida's a
towns here
melting
and
pot.
there. Just
Mhm.
got to worry about the one towns or they say population 6 and 7, and it's crossed out. And
Oh,
Then it's like
now
a
that's
5.
where you'll hear them old Southern boys back there.
It
yeah.
was, yeah, it's 5 today.
Yeah. So how can we forget the Cajuns either? Louisiana.
Oh, yeah.
They got a nice one. But anyways, thanks for the great introduction.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. Thank you for hey, I know it was a little bit last notice. I had a last second cancellation, and I got a shout out to our buddy Sir Brian over on Third Eye Live at Sir
Oh,
Brian
yeah.
Bowden on YouTube as well. He hooked us up, and so yeah, I was so glad that he did that. And I was going through some of your things. We spoke a little briefly today and yesterday. Yeah, so I'm excited about this. Never had anybody. You're the second person from Florida that's interested in cryptids and all the phenomena to come on the show. The last one was was a young lady that I had a couple of years ago, which was a fantastic show. So thank you so much for taking your time out of the night.
Oh.
Hey, so I always start off with a nice snowball question. If you want to tell the audience, probably the first, maybe in my audience, perhaps might be the first time they've heard of you. How did you get started with this? And if you want to give us a little intro.
Well, I think it all really began when my pops telling me he was an old wilderness man, also a musician too, but he used to tell me stories of the Florida Skunk Ape or the Florida Swamp Ape, which is known here. And he would tell me all these crazy stories about this hairy monkey-looking thing. And then lo and behold, in the 60s, we had the famous Argosy magazine that did a lot of cryptic styles articles, and it had the Patterson Gimlin Patty picture. And from there, I was hooked. I was like, Pops, is this what they look like? He was like, so I don't know. I've never really seen one, but he told me some interesting story about when he was hunting in the Ocala National Forest, where he had put his gun up to sight and he thought was a standing bear. And then the rule of hunters, if you can't identify, you don't pull the trigger. So he didn't, and he went to sleep that night in a sleeping bag, and something approached him from that, where he saw the standing bear, and it came next to him, breathing hard. He could tell it was big, and he was in a sleeping bag, zipped up with a gun inside, but he was just freaking because they came up and it pushed on him. And then it lay beside him, just grunting and breathing hard. And then with that, it left, and that was his story. So I was really hooked. And so from there, the Patterson Gimlin, which came out in, I believe, 68, that film, which is still one of the most epic so-called pieces of footage, whether it's real or not, is still on the fence. Scientists seem to not say it's real, or they can't say it's not real. And, you have all kinds of people that battle that question. So from there, I started doing cryptic research from the Pacific Northwest, when people like Grover Grants, who was a PhD, and people that were notably good at it or knew it, you could take, charm in how they did this, because most scientists will not touch the Bigfoot thing because there's just so much controversy and what have you. And we had one of the greatest ones, Jeff Meldrum, passed recently. He was a PhD anthropologist, bipedal hominid specialist. And he was, put his whole credibility on the line, and people like them. So I said, well, there must be some truth in this. And ever since then, I was hooked. And then I got a job at the Animal Planets, finding Bigfoot, with Bobo and all them crazy guys. I don't know if you've seen the show. It lasted like 12 seasons.
I am very familiar. I met Cliff.
Yeah, I might have caught an episode or two.
Yeah, I might have
maybe.
seen one.
Renee and
Yeah.
Bobo and Cliff.
Yeah.
And
I met
course,
Cliff.
Matt
I met Cliff. I think Brandy might have met Renee.
Oh,
yes, I did.
Yeah,
of course, the one and only Matt Moneymaker. He is
yes, of course.
the founder of BSHoe, which is probably the largest Bigfoot data stuff, which is great. I mean, it's great stuff. They have a lot of people that report stuff, and they go out and they see if it's real or what, and put it down as a data. And it's probably our only really reliable database that Bigfoot researchers can look at.
It is a big database. I was going to ask you, since I maybe can speak for Brandy too. I don't know, maybe not. Okay, I'm used to calling it Bigfoot, and I've been accustomed to Sasquatch. So why does it seem to me that in Florida, where did this skunk ape derive from?
Okay, that's a good question. So, the skunk ape actually comes out of the Seminoles, Native Americans that live around here. They also call it the swamp ape, but they called it the skunk ape mainly because of the smell. Now, the smell is supposedly just like a skunk, maybe, I don't know, maybe some of that Florida cannabis, I don't know, they talk about. But
Sure.
it's definitely a smell of a skunk. Some of them say it's more of a smell of a wet dog that's been out for a long time. But that's where it mainly gets that skunk ape name from. And some people like to say that it's smaller in comparison to the Sasquatch that you were talking about in Pacific Northwest and Canada and places like that. The Yeti that they talk about. There's like some form of some bipedal hominid, and just about every country that you can come up with. And of course, I was talking about the Yeti in Russia, which is larger, but everybody believes the skunk ape is smaller in size. But I don't. I don't really believe that because I've been doing this a long time, and I was with several research groups from nonprofits, just some pretty good ones. And our team right now that I have, the CreatureMan Research team, consists of a scientist, and she's brilliant, and they're actually in my film. So I do films too, as we were talking earlier. I am an independent filmmaker of documentaries and have done stuff for UFOs and everything from ghosts to UFOs to, but Bigfoot is my main, focus now. And because we've been researching an area that's called the Mayaca. The Mayaca is known for the two famous pictures of the orangutan type creatures that were sent to the Sarasota Police Department. And so maybe some of your guests will know what I'm talking about, but that's where I live. I live right near this famous Mayaca sighting. So with all said, me being all over the country with different research groups and finding Bigfoot, guess what? I stay here in Florida because it is the third largest in sightings. If you look at the BFRO data in the Pacific Northwest, of course, they got the other two. But here right now I am working in the Everglades doing a film. It's not on Bigfoot or skunk ape. It's about the invasive python, but it's a good chance. It's a good time for me that I can get out there and do squatching and research and stuff. So,
Well, how fitting, because when I put together that thumbnail, if you guys haven't seen it, I got the Bigfoot holding a python. I didn't even know that. I made it up today.
That was perfect. You didn't even know.
I did not
Right.
even know.
No?
And then they're trying to say that with this invasive python that it has no predator or it has nothing that would hunt it. But I believe that, I could see that happening, a skunk ape and that, tangling around. Be kind of like the King Kong, old King Kong when he's wrestling with that amphibian looking thing.
Mhm.
The old black and white film.
Yeah.
But I could see that.
I would like to talk a little bit about your documentaries. I think you told me one had over 2 million views and so forth, which is, by the way, 2 million.
That's
All right.
fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I believe it's pushing 3 million now. I am trying to get it back on. Have you ever heard of Les Stroud, the Survivor Man?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I did a film with him. It's a psychotic thriller. It has nothing to do with any of that. But he has a pretty good YouTube channel, and he does Bigfoot researching. And I put it on his channel, and it's been his biggest viewing. It's called the Skunk Ape Lives. And I mean, there are some links if you want to friend me on Facebook and stuff like that. And I definitely, can hook you up to any of my films. And I also did one at Roswell 70 years later. So I'm really, I like the UFO thing too. That's my second next best thing.
Awesome. So we have a lot of things we can discuss, which I love. My first question that I always wanted to ask was, of course, the skunk ape. And I know Brandy will chime in when she's ready. But my other big thing I wanted to ask you when it comes to researching in South Florida, the Everglades, or in Florida, a lot of folks I've spoken with out, like here where I live in the Midwest, even the PNW, Pacific Northwest, reddish brown hair, black hair, different colored hair, right? I've even heard some white colors of white. But it seems like a lot of people say that the skunk ape of Florida almost has like a greenish jungle type hue to it. Is there any credence to that? And if there is, what do you think? Yeah.
No, I don't. That's actually the first time I've heard that. To be honest, green tinted type of hue. I mean, when it comes to Bigfoot in general, you can talk Nephilim, you can talk alien, you can talk portal dimensions.
Sure.
For me personally, I think it's a flesh and blood.
Okay.
Could possibly be shot or something. I like to think that more of the sense of Gigantopithecus, which is a known ape type back maybe 200,000 years or more ago that stood 10 foot tall and was massive, this very massive thing. And they know it exists because they do have bone fragments and et cetera, et cetera. So me, I think it could be somewhere in there, some kind of a missing link between a primate and a human in there. And it is flesh and blood. And it's just really smart, you know, that it can be that elusive. I believe, I really truly believe that we're really close as a whole community. I know there's a Bigfoot community, UFO community, a ghost community, and all this, but somewhere in this Bigfoot community, I think there's going to be something happening real soon and good. Because to me personally, now that you have, let's see, we started all with Photoshop and then there was CGI and now we have AI. When you get all these together, people are throwing out videos here by the millions, you know, on YouTube and social media. You wonder what's real and what's not real and stuff. So me, I think it's just going to take a body, you know, on a slab. You add it nearest college, TV station or something. But because of where we're at now in research and stuff. But with our research team, we like going in with a doubting or trying to debunk more than we are anything else. You know, not every pareidolia, I don't know if you know what that meaning is.
Yeah.
Okay. And every bent stick or thing is Bigfoot, you know. Me, I think it's a much more complicated, that it's a very, 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 very smart creature that doesn't want to be found. And it will see you more times than you will see it. But I do also believe that, you know, Bigfoot is similar to humans, because then you will have smart ones, you will have dumb ones, you will have juveniles, you'll have babies, you'll have pissed off mothers. And so I think that it's that type of a creature. So I know it's a lot of people, when they think of Bigfoot, they think of Harry A. Henderson in some of these movies. Me, I think more of the Native American stories. My mother is a full-blooded Native American for the Mexican mountains and stuff. So I'm also was adopted to the Oglala Nation. And I like their stories the most because of the hundreds of years that they have and stuff. And in all, I think the thing is out there and we're going to find it real soon. I was talking to your friend earlier when we were off here, but it's going to probably be some blue-haired old lady down here in Florida. It's going to run it off, hit it in one of these rural back roads, and then, you know, somebody from BFRO is going to run up and throw it in the truck and look what we got. You know, look what we did. But I believe that's in the final. It's going to take a body to, you know, to find.
I think so too. You know, no matter if, because I have had my own personal up close experience, and I don't think it really matters how many people I tell until we have a body. I don't think that people are going to believe. I just don't.
You had a Class A sighting or a Class A encounter. Oh, well, see, you should just walk away and know that you don't care what anybody thinks.
Oh, and I don't. I absolutely do not. I mean, you know, if you want to hear about it, I'll tell you. But you know, and that's what I tell them. I say, I'll tell you about it, but you know, I'm not here to make you believe.
No, I would love to.
Brandy can tell you that, and I will say this too. I gave up making people. I had a big time Bigfoot encounter as well.
Yeah.
Big time.
Both.
Yeah, but I tell people years ago, I tried to convince people, because I've seen ghosts and black shadows, people,
Yes,
all this
too.
stuff. I stopped convincing people because guess what? I seen it. And so I stopped that because it took out too much energy. I'm not going to try to sell them on what I believe in, right?
Right.
So with that said, yeah, Brandy, you can, Brandy's got a cool little account.
Yeah, we'll talk about that another time. It's not about me. It's about you, Stevie. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about you.
I was just loved that, but Class A.
Well, she did see one, and it came around where she was parked in her vehicle, and she seen it. She's seen it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about it later. But yeah, that's great. But as I was saying, it's going to take a body, you know. I mean, or some really good evidence.
Well, you know,
You
here's the thing too about
Well,
a body. I firmly believe this. I don't know what your take is on this. We already have a body. Our government or somebody
they do.
oh yeah,
has
They
something,
already
right?
have it. They have
it's,
everything that they need.
it's
Everything that they
funny.
need.
You know, like, I can imagine going to the Smithsonian and seeing what they really don't show or have on
What's in the
display.
archives? Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I want to see. What's in the archives? What do you got?
it's the Indiana Jones ending. That's Smithsonian probably. but but
Absolutely.
I do find your take a little bit interesting on the flesh and blood 100% because I happen to believe that it is flesh and blood, but I do believe it has a I do agree with you. They're super smart, very intelligent, but I think there has to be something a little bit supernatural about them, the way they can move and cloak. You know, I was telling Ron Moorhead he believes that they could be even alien, or he believes in that quantum physics where they can
Mhm.
convert mass and energy and just boom, appear and disappear. I believe they can walk through portals. I believe in more than just one theory or hypothesis, right? I
Mhm.
think it's a combination of everything, especially even kind of what I saw. And you mentioned the First Nations folks. It depends on which tribal nation you speak with, because some believe they are a flesh and blood, but also I find it fascinating that some find it to be more of spiritual.
right.
Where it's and it comes to them in dreams or in messages. So I'm wondering, you had mentioned you love the First Nations folks. Have you come across any of that to kind of offset some of your theory on the flesh and blood 100%?
Yes. Well, as Native Americans, they believe a lot of animals are spiritual in a sense. The crows, the owls, they're messengers, and they come in dreams, visit in dreams and stuff. But there's also the Bigfoot wars that are told by nations where they just generally made peace and say, you stay, we won't come to your part of the forest and you won't come to our part of the forest. Here in Florida, some of the elders I've talked with, Seminoles and stuff, they still do not let their women go out during menstruations and cycles because of the smell of blood and they believe some of the old stories where they would be snatch kids and women, and there's also stories through the nations of cannibalism
Mm,
that these will eat you. It's not Henry and Henderson, it's gonna slap your sleeping bag up against a tree, or but I've never encountered anything like that. I mean, I know I've been asked, and people always ask me, so all those years, did you see one? Well, I saw one through a thermal, and it was no doubt because I had the scientists with us. And it's best when you have multiple witnesses with you,
oh, yeah.
Yeah. And yes, I saw it within 70, probably about, it was, believe it or not, it was in the Mayaca area. Mayaca is notorious since the 60s for all kinds of sightings and or that part of the that area, that county, Sarasota County. And yeah, there's all kinds of stories. But we were doing the Crowley Museum area over there, and there was stories of the 60s where it had jumped the old 100-year-old cemetery, and these kids were riding bicycles, and it scared the girl so much that she left her little brother, who was like 6 years old, on a bike, and she rode and left him. So it was a pretty good story. But when it jumped the fence and ran by him, it ran past them. So it wasn't like it was chasing them. So she thought it was chasing them. But that was the area where I saw this with our scientists. And it was probably about 3 o'clock in the morning. And we were in this giant tower thing. And we had gotten knocks earlier, that's a whole nother theory that they communicate with knocks, because primates will do that with rocks against tree roots and have you. But so we were had the old school FLIRs, which now didn't have built-in cameras, so you had to have an onboard DVR. And so the batteries were running out, and this is the way it always happens. When your equipment don't work is when you have the best sighting, and you just like,
Or you
this is
don't
not
have it turned
very
on
good.
yet. That's
Yeah,
that's
they
always
haven't
fine.
turned on, or it's people
Yep.
want about blurry pictures. That's another story. But well, we were going in to go get it recharged, pick up another one, and we stopped by the part of this boardwalk that was over this swamp, and I had the Flare Scout 3 back then, which is very, very, very great piece of thermal imager. And lo and behold, I lifted up and it couldn't have been more than 70 to 80 yards in this really high swamp, that really nasty. And there it was. It was this gorilla type thing. And it was so clear because of this flare. You could see the hair. It was so, we use white hot instead of color for thermal. And you just see it, just like pulling the, I get excited when I talk about it because it was my encounter. And it was bent over and it looked like a gorilla. And it was pulling out cattails. And it was like chewing on the roots like things and pulling. And I told my family real quick, I didn't tell them what I saw and what was this. I said, what do you see? And he said, there's a freaking dude, monkey out the gorilla. And he's bent over and he's pulling weed. I said, give me that back. And, and by the time I got back, gone. Now, it could have walked away. We talk about portals and stuff. I do keep an open mind. You have to. As researchers, you got to think of an open mind. If you don't, you're not, you're not going to get far in some of your research. But I thought that was the only instance I was going, I could have, slipped to some kind of portal or something, because it could have gone that fast within a matter of 2 to 3 seconds. I know there was a tree line, but it had to have been really booking far. But yeah, that was my sighting. But we knew what we saw, and the thing was massive. And talk about little thing. No, I'd say this thing was probably about 7.5 feet tall, somewhere in there, probably weighing 400 pounds. So it was no little skunk ape like they talk about in the glades.
Being that I'm unfamiliar with the Everglades, I've never been in the Everglades. Hell, I haven't been in the woods of Florida. Do you think that it's harder to have an encounter or find something down there simply because, and I don't know, I'm just throwing this out there, it seems that it's easier to hide and be more, there's more camouflage
down there.
the area, because everything to me seems just green and that's it.
It's brutal down there. Honestly, yes. The Everglades, beautiful in a way. I mean, look at the Clyde Butcher, the famous photographer that lives down, and look at all that beautiful swamp and those pictures. But it's so massive, millions of miles. And you get out there in an overcast day and you don't know how to have a compass. Everybody relies on their phones and stuff. But if you ain't got a compass and know how to read it, you're dead. You could be dead possibly. I know recently, because I had to be pulled out of there myself. I had a close to heat stroke because I got too far in there. And I didn't calculate water and stuff, but I did have a survival straw, and my son wanted to go save me. And he's a military, and guess what? He could barely make it back before cramping out, and he ran into some wildlife firemen, and they came out and got me. Tried to send a helicopter, and I said, "Oh, please, no, Stevie Strings not getting carried no helicopter out of the swamp." I said, "I'll wait till dark, and I had a pistol and everything else in the swamp thing, but they came out there with 6-wheelers. They gave them permission, because you can't even take 6-wheelers out on them cypress and some of them national parks over there too also. So a lot of those people go treading in there, and then they can't find themselves out, and they just, die from heat and stroke or what have you.
Yep. You got the heat stroke you just mentioned, and
got rattlesnakes, crocodiles, alligators.
Well, you just read my mind, because
bears.
Where I live, you got the bear. Well, we don't have cougars, allegedly. I believe we do. But you have every creature and critter that can take you. The pythons, the crocodiles. You have black panthers, right? Or am I wrong on that one?
There have been sights of black panthers. But you know what's one of the meanest ones out there is those feral hogs. It's a problem all over the country. God. But oh my gosh, I've seen some hogzillas out there, 400 pounds, and those are the ones that scare me.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I was out with Will Lunsford, and we were out in Falk, Arkansas. So, and we're running through there, and we happened across this pig that was in the middle of the road, and I'm like, what is that? And so he stopped and looked at it, and I looked down at it, and I'm like, well, it's dead. And he said, okay, that's good. I said, all right, because I never ever want to see an animal that, is out there hurt, no matter what it is. But yeah, these things are huge. Hogzillas. The ones in
Mama's very
Texas,
big.
the ones in Texas I ran across were huge too. And I'm like, oh my God.
Same thing in Texas.
Yeah,
I know,
Everything's
slapping.
big.
Go ahead, hit
they're
me.
big.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Oh, I believe it. Yeah, I believe it. And the mamas don't put up with when they got
uh,
babies. Oh yeah, they'll come right at you.
fierce,
Yeah.
fierce. Absolutely. No, that I have like a top 5 things that I don't want to run across in the woods, and that might be my top one.
Yeah. And don't
I
get
think
me
that's
started
it.
on insects. Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's
Doing the film of
another thing. The insects of
mosquitoes.
Florida.
Yeah,
The
ours is
mosquitoes.
ticks and mosquitoes. Ticks and
Lots of
mosquitoes.
ticks,
Those are,
chiggers. They got this thing called the
oh
chiggers, and
yes,
it's a red bug. And yeah, oh my gosh, they get
yes.
a welt the size
Ew.
of this. I'll have hundreds on me, hundreds. Me and the
And you'll
wife.
itch. And you'll itch and itch and itch. And the only thing that I found that's good for these, this is an FYI for everybody watching. And hey, it's absorbing junior.
Yeah,
It's
what?
out there.
Never heard that.
It works. It works. It smells god awful. But yeah, it kind of like it's got a dauber on it, and you just kind of like put it on your skin, and it smells disgusting. But hey, it helps with the scratching and that terrible feeling that you get with a whole bunch of chigger bites. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. We put up
Helpful
with it.
hints.
Yeah, we
Helpful
put up
hints.
with it. We put up with it because that's the love of the woods, But um, but I'm really excited though. Now we have an area, and I'll shift gears here a little bit
Yeah, sure.
because we're having. It seems like all over the country that my best evidence is in my own backyard. So, with that said, I started CreatureMan. I broke away with Florida Skunk Ape Project, which was a nonprofit, and then I broke away from another. So, because a lot of these groups, they have like 20 some people, and they invite all these people to go out in the woods. And, 20 some people. Bigfoot ain't gonna sit there, when 21 people make all kinds of noise and stuff. So we keep a very small 4 to 6 member, and we'll bring a guest and what have you. So when I wanted to start this small group, I wanted to get the best I could get. It's kind of like my movie. I wanted to get all the best researchers. That's the way I do put together and produce teams in the movie. Well, anyways, I came across my partner, Chris D'Angelo. He is the co-founder of CreatureMan Research. He did the forensics for 9/11 for the bodies, and after it happened, he took body parts and identified people. So I thought, great, he's going to be a very, very, and he believed he had his daughter had a Class A sighting in Mayaca. So I had heard of him and hooked up with him, and he said, hey, I said, let's join a serious research team. Let's prove this thing exists. I said, I got a scientist that'll jump on board, and I have a survivalist. So I'm trying to cover each one. And then I have military man with us. So with this group, he brought aboard something that we couldn't get, which were reports. And he was asking me about this area of Mayaca State. We have a Mayaca State River Park and a Mayaca State River Forest. And this river is probably about 80 miles long, but it connects to hundreds of thousands of acres. And there's where a lot of these sightings are coming from locals and what have you, hunters to what have you. Well, to come to find out, his area he had been researching in his Class A butted up to mine. So I said, let's join together. So lo and behold, he can get police reports. And so this area that we had an encounter one night, we found out that it had already 5 Class A reports to wildlife and game and sheriffs, et cetera, and he was able to get a hold of all those reports. So we've been working that area for 2.5 years now. I've been there for almost 4, but the most craziest things happened there. It's not just tree knocks and stuff. It's something coming into our camps. Like it knows when we go out. Sometimes we'll have a base camp and we'll leave like some of the kids that come along because it's a nice base camp. It's shouldn't be worried about nothing. But we cook food, make bacon, play, music and things like that, and see if something will come in. And sometimes that's some of the best evidence you can get. Something does come in, but it seems like the last 2 times when we went to this group site, we would go out, and when we'd come back in the next morning, we'd find these piles of like pine cones behind the girls' tents and stuff. Sir Brian has been on with our research, and he was there when that happened. And he was actually, we heard knocks that were so incredible that sounded like Louisville Sluggers out at a baseball game. And, coming out of our campsite, and we'd hear another one, we're like, wow, this is going to be good. And then by morning, we'd find these piles of pine cones, and they'd be just, some of them would be in circles, some would be in like pyramid shapes. And they swore they would hear things being thrown at their tents and stuff. So the second time we went there, we had a group out of Florida with us, another research group. And we had, we stayed out all night. Nothing happened. And Chris, the forensic guy, left. And I thought, I was falling asleep by the fire. And I thought, oh, wow, I woke up by her, this loud noise. I thought, oh, he hit the gate when he was leaving. So I'm looking and I don't see nothing. I didn't think of it. So it was the last night there. And we've been on all these side dirty roads. So I always tell everybody, don't touch your windows, don't touch your door handles, because it's so covered in dust, you can find fingerprints and handprints and stuff. And I didn't really think much of it until we were driving down the road, and my wife was in front of me with her car, and I see all this doodling on her car. And this like, I'm like, pull over. And when I went up there, there's these handprints. They're different sizes, but they were massive. And then there was like on the side windows, there were these prints about the size of silver dollars, or I say maybe 50-cent pieces. Oh. And so with Chris and all that, we were able to pull prints, and also found some on the other vehicles. What happened, well, I don't know if it tripped, because one of the guys had bicycles and he left his bike rack. And I believe it tripped over it and hit my car, and trying to keep itself up. But Sir Brian himself was there another time where we had the pine cones, and I took him out. I wore him out. He'll probably tell you that story. I guess we went out a little too far. We went out maybe 9 miles or so.
Hang on, you wore out Sir Brian.
Yeah, the one and only.
Yes, I wrote that down. Yes,
and he'll tell you the story. But man, he said something come up and was messing with him in his truck and stuff that night. And then that next morning is when we found those pine cones. So I was like, wow, that's something's out there. And that type of evidence, when the prints are there and stuff like that, because we're finding tracks a lot of times when we're way out in there where people should be barefooted, that are like juvenile to mom. So we think there's 2, maybe 3. And Chris has got a theory that they're bottlenecked there, and they don't actually migrate because it's so big and so much food and stuff there. So we've been working on this really hard in this area. And so we're going to do a little documentary, and we're trying to get the next best evidence. So our team is small. Like I said, we got a scientist, but you know what? I have a sound person, and so they usually go in front with parabolics and all the good stuff. So they hear something, and then we have a thermal imaging, which is usually me with the better cameras than money could probably buy, and Army supplies. And then we have somebody with night vision. So if somebody hears it, then you get a audio that's really cool, whether it's a knock or some growling or often. And then if you can pick up the thermal with that, then you have a night vision. Then the 4th thing is everybody turn on lights and take your cameras, see what we got. That's the kind of evidence that people would love to see, and that's what we're working on. But it's, I think we're close enough that it's getting used to us, or used to me and Chris, because we do a lot of solo stuff all the time and out there, and that it's, and if it's a juvenile, I think it's acting like a juvenile, being curious, and coming into this campsite. And it's a primitive campsite, so it's way in there. So it's not like it's open to the public or anything like that. You have to, you have to rent it. So actually, you got to rent it from the Boy Scouts. They're the only ones who can travel way back in there. The hall. But like I was thinking another two, you got a lot of these armchair people that are putting out a lot of stuff and everything's a Bigfoot and stuff. But I really do believe these things. So if you really want to see one, you got to go in there deep and you got to go in there and stay there for a long time. I mean, I've sat for 5 days in a deer stand with deer intestines and stuff before I got even a piece of good evidence or heard something good.
You know, I appreciate the weekend warriors. I love them. I'm glad they're out there. But like, I even started developing this theory that, you know, to me, and I could be wrong, I just think that a lot of people walking the trail, they might see a Bigfoot cross the trail. But like you said, the people that have these experiences aren't looking for it. It's mom and dad camping. You know, they have no interest in Bigfoot. And the Bigfoot's aware of their intentions, right? And so they know, and they're like, oh, this is just a happy family. They'll walk by and they might do it on purpose, they might not, right? But if your solely intention is to find Bigfoot, you got to go off the grid, I do believe. And I think you got to spend more than 3 days because I believe that they are socialized, their behavior is socialized. And I think it takes a while for them to warm up to you before they maybe even get close to your camp.
Right.
You know, you might be there on that third day and you might be packing home Sunday when maybe they're just on the cusp of you finding something or getting some evidence. And then you split and they're like, well, you know, but a man like yourself that's out there, they're familiar with you and what you do. And you probably have the same routine, like clockwork, I imagine.
And yeah, and to rewind a little bit, these other encounters that were in this area that we're working, 2 of them were like you said. One of the sightings was a family, Asian family. Don't even know what a Bigfoot is, and they were at a primitive site. I think maybe about 3.5 miles in, and it's way in there, and you know, there's no toilets or anything. You got to bring your own food and water. And they called the wildlife and game and said, there's this peking bear. He's peeking. And they're like, we'll explain peeking. You know, like they thinking Peking, China, because they're from Asian. And they're going, no, peeking. He's walking on 2 feet and peeking around the trees. And for 45 minutes, they said this happened. And he kept getting closer. And then he would get on all fours and peek at him and all this. And they came out there and they could tell something was out there, but they didn't actually see it. So, but that said, that was pretty cool because they're not looking for Bigfoot. You know, they were just, you know, foreigners that camped at this primitive site, you know, that they liked hiking and camping. And then the other one was actual hunter who called the Fish and Wildlife game because he was at another primitive site and there's a creek that ran alongside it. And he had his daughter there and some of his family. And he said he heard something walking down the creek and he could see through the moonlight waning that it went to his daughter's tent and pushed on it. And then he unzipped it and he saw this thing in the waning, but he couldn't really tell what it was. But his description was, I don't know what it is, but I think it's a poacher because he's in a ghillie suit. Are you familiar with what a hunting ghillie suit is? It's very mossy and stuff. And he says, and he stinks. And he says, I'm telling you what, if he comes back to that tent of my daughter's, he says, I'm going to plug him. And they came out there and they didn't find it, but they knew something was in that creek. But and then the third one was 5 people were coming down the main entrance of the park itself. They're probably about 3/4 miles down, and it's just, you know, nothing but wilderness on each side. And they thought it saw a pig on the side of the road, and it was on all fours. And lo and behold, it stood up, and it was an orange color looking thing, and it jumped in front of the car. All 5 of them swear and reported it. It was, you know, a matter of 20 yards and jumped over the fence and back in this area. Guess where that area is? That's our primitive site. So I think it just knows that there because it's an old Boy Scout area, and only the Boy Scout and us are allowed to use this area. I mean, it's away from the public and stuff. So it makes me think that we're really onto something, because these prints are no doubtedly. I have shown and casted them and sent them to people like Meldrum and some of these people that will, know bipedal hominid prints, dermal ridging, what the mid-tarsal break. I'm not sure if you know what that term is, but in
Yes,
primates,
we've been around the block. Yeah, a lot of
yeah,
things are saying,
yes,
yeah,
so you find that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
you're going,
yeah. It's how
wow, wow, wow.
exciting! How
Yeah,
exciting
so
to hear.
exciting. I mean, yeah, it's not human. It's like showing this and this. And now with LiDAR and stuff, it's showing weight. You can guess all kinds of things. And it's not human. So that part I do. It's kind of like what Meldrum said. He said, I don't believe. I'm convinced. But he never did, Jeff Meldrum, Dr. Meldrum never did see one. But his prints, I own quite a few of his prints of the real deals that he says. And they're amazing. He
Well,
did Paul Freeman's.
yeah, I mean, I've got a question. I mean, do you think that, okay, so we've already discussed the point of female women being out there. And that sometimes that we as women can attract these things just by the pheromones that we put off. Okay.
Right.
Do you think that possibly, I mean, this is sweater, it's all opinions, but do you think possibly we can be talking about a splice of human DNA in there somewhere because they are attracted to the female hormone of humans? Do you think that that is a possibility?
Oh yes, that's animal instinct. It's a lot of doe or deer do it. I had a deer come after my wife one time because she was menstruating. Yeah, I believe. Yeah, they definitely.
I mean, I get it. I mean, because I mean, we do have the people who are they're totally apes. That is it. And that just because a lot of people that I've heard from, if there is a female involved, they tend to have more activity. Are you finding that out in the field too? If you have females out there with you?
Possibly, I think this area that we're working in particular, yeah, that there's a female because it's obviously a juvenile print. Actually, we think it's two juveniles, and it has to probably be the female because just like in lion prides and stuff, the male has the babies and what have you and takes off. And I mean, I know I get asked a lot, how does Bigfoot expand their population? Is it ancestral? Is it they go around? To me, I don't. Maybe it's a combination of both.
Yeah, like they're. What I was asking was if you have female investigators out there with you, researchers, are you having more activity?
I got you. Yeah. So yes, I do, because very interesting. Like I was telling you, one of our scientists she's a female, and she, every time they work more in the Central Florida with us, so we're kind of a split group, and because we'll do everywhere, we go individually too, and then when we find what we find, so we can cover more ground, then we go there to this area. But when I work with her and her husband, it seems like every time she does like a whoop or something, which I don't like to do calls necessarily because I think they can figure out you're imitating, because I think
they know exactly,
or you might be saying stuff you don't want to be saying. I'm just, putting that out there.
But when she does it, we've had numerous returns. And because maybe it's a different, being a musician, I know about the hertz and how it's presented, how whales have the lower frequencies and stuff like that. And stuff, and I just think they know, maybe it's thinking that they're going to mate or something. Who knows? But it seems like we get a lot of action, and kids too. We've had incidents where kids at the base camp, and then that's the times when we have found stuff left behind.
Stevie, you're one step ahead of me, because I was just talking with somebody the other day. And I think with women and children, Like men, I think that these creatures, these cryptids, they know what men are capable of. Not that a woman isn't either, right? But I think they're more in tune to us, and I think they're a woman or a child. With a child, maybe the innocence of a child and the femininity of a woman, because I think that something about the women that I would be very guarded against. We've heard about Bigfoot running off, or some cryptids
Well, you're
running off
just
with
not
women,
interesting.
you know?
You're a man. You're just not interesting.
And I agree 100%. I'm not interesting at all. I'm the most boring guy in the world.
Right, right,
I'd
right.
rather be surrounded by lovely ladies and a bunch of dudes. That's not
That's what
interesting.
I'm saying. Well, and I think that they can also pick up on that we're more nurturers as being women,
Yes.
and that they're less apprehensive. They don't feel as like aggressive
Right.
or anything like that
Yeah.
towards females. Uh,
Or you're
but
non-aggressive, or you're not a threat. That too.
right,
That
right,
crosses my
right.
mind. Yeah, that crosses my mind too. Also, but as for the kids, I just think everybody loves a puppy or loves a small thing, and curious. It seems like even dogs. And I know,
Yeah.
I know, I know. I have a new grandchild, and that dog, the way he reacts to that grandchild and stuff, he's always curious and very protective, of course. But yeah, I believe they have special attractiveness to the Bigfoots or the Sasquatch. But
Yeah, but you were talking about sound and everything in the woods, and I'm getting into that. I'm really trying to figure out what tone are they more prone to react to. uh because I've got out there with singing bowls and tuning forks and you name it, all kinds of stuff that puts out
cool,
vibration, that puts out
right?
sound. And I'm finding that the lower tones are doing better for me versus the higher tones I call dogs. That's usually what happens with that. But I am getting good results by using sound, not necessarily music. I mean, music is very helpful, but just using a certain tone will bring them in because they're curious.
Yes, I do. I do multiple instruments. I find I've had responses with flutes,
Hmm.
especially lower ones, or the really good with flutes, not
Hmm.
like a record or something, and
Right.
harmonicas. Believe it or not, I think it's because of pitching.
Hmm.
I know it drives my dog crazy. I mean, he's just
Yeah.
and he can pick it up from a long distance. So I
Hmm.
do believe that. But as for calls and stuff, I think they imitate. I hear often. Okay, recently when we were out there, me and Chris were walking down. We were going to go to one of the primitive sites, and lo and behold, we just hear this. I said, "Why don't you do a couple of knocks?" I'm a big believer in knocks because they can't tell if you're faking that or if that's something else, because
True.
unless they're seeing you do it. But
True.
and actually, some people don't believe that they're knocks. Some people think they're doing
Yeah,
the
like
tapping or
the sound is coming from their mouth.
yeah, right. Because who's going to find a good stick? If you ever done a tree knock and pick up a stick and hit a tree, you're not going to find that perfect stick every
Heck
time.
no.
So that's what my partner always says. But yeah, I like the knocks more than I do anything else. But we were walking down that street and we heard the longest, like what they call the Ohio howl type thing. Couldn't
Mhm.
have been about 50 yards from us. And then all of a sudden the coyotes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
stupid Steve says, "Why don't we?" And just when he was going to do some knocks, and I had the digital recorder, I hadn't even touched it, and then it happened. We were just like looking at
Of
each other.
course, it wasn't on. Yeah.
That's Nick, the other
Every
team. They were
time.
5 miles away. Yeah, they were 5 miles away, and he's going, "Touch them anyway." He goes, "They're not stupid to be right there and do something like that." And the coyotes went out crazy. So I said, "How about?" As soon as I tried to imitate that, everything went quiet and nothing the rest of the night.
And
I
you're just like, dang
knew
it.
that, yeah, somebody's messing with us or imitating them or something. But tree knocks, I seem to get a lot of responses. But one of the most interesting tree knocks. Now, most people they go out and tree knocks, they go try to find a stick and hit a tree, or they bring their baseball bat or whatever, their portable
Mhm.
bats and stuff. Well, being a musician, I use percussion instruments like wood blocks. Some are built like cowbells, but made out of wood,
Right.
and
Right.
there's some are they're fiberglass. So you get different tonations. So one night we were in the Gothi Forest, and my partner Chris is a heavy metal drummer, and he took out his, and he did 3 knocks, which was a higher piece of fiberglass
Mhm.
block, and got an instant return. But what was so interesting about it, it was returned in the same frequency in the same amount of times that he had done it. Say the amount of seconds between each one. He went,
Was the
it came
pitch
back the
the
same thing.
same?
Yeah, and the pitch was a high, just like if somebody had recorded him and then sent it back to him. And we that amazed me a lot. I was like,
Yeah.
wow, how could that have done? Unless it tried to repeat it with its mouth or something.
Mm.
But
Well,
that's one of his
I
theories.
believe they're mimics, and it
Yeah,
doesn't take
mimics.
them long to pick on stuff. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
I think that they can do a lot of things that we're just not aware of yet. I
yeah.
mean,
I've
there's going to come a
I've
day.
heard the coyotes go off without them howling and everything, and all of a sudden in the middle of these coyotes, you'll hear this weird coyote, or trying to howl like them, and or you'll hear. Or you'll be out there when the owls are doing crazy mating season. Then you hear this one,
You do.
or you're
I
with
let
the
you do
frost.
that, Stevie. You do that ever so well. Really
Oh, thank
briefly
you.
for people coming on in. Stevie Strings. We're talking Everglades. We're talking Florida. We're talking Bigfoot, cryptic creatures, mods, and all of Stevie's links are posted in the description of this show on YouTube, and some of the formats and places you can find him. We're going to get into your 3 million views documentary in a minute. Before we move on to that, I had a question, but also first, Gary Spikes, thank you for the 5 new pirates. Benno for your awesome super sticker. Moon and Noon for your awesome being a member for 5 months. That is awesome. If you're new, subscribe to Bigfoot, Mr. Rob on YouTube, The Blondes and the Booze on YouTube, Texas Front Porch, Donnie Joe Says Stuff, Monica Rollins, Our Paranormal World. My buddy Coley from SNX Radio is in the house. Subscribe to her. And of course, Bigfoot Fidesz, who does such a tremendous job with their videos. Check
Absolutely.
her out. Check her out. And I did want to ask you something because Brian Bowden has sent me quite a few pictures, Stevie, on like UFOs in Florida, this flying anomalies. And I happen to believe, and maybe Brandy does, I think she does, we happen to believe that all this phenomena is related with the UFO, the cryptid, the ghost, the paranormal, portals, all this stuff we talk about.
Mhm.
Do you think there's any correlation between it, or do you think it's coincidence?
That's a good question. I am now leaning a little bit towards possibly alien, or they're involved.
Mm,
Could be. There's no doubt in UFOs. When I go like Mike had UFO and Bigfoot hunter, aliens, I really believe they exist. My documentaries, we went out in Roswell and 70 years later and talked to the mayor and all that stuff. But I do believe how could you not logically think that UFOs don't exist? I mean, with all the stars you see in each one of them, how many planets are around it, it's just endless. There's got to be something out there smart and stuff. Now, do any of them have Bigfoot? That's possible because of that incident I was telling you about where the thermal, did it cross into a portal? Did something transported? Because me logically, it would had to have taken enough time to run to the tree line to the amount of time that I took back the camera, and it didn't.
Mhm.
It wasn't there. So
Mhm.
somehow I do believe that yes, they are tied or connected. Now we were talking about Les Stroud earlier, and if you know his research and stuff, he believes in the mind speak thing. I mean, he said it publicly that
mm.
they telepathically talk to you. So, but then again, he did a show with Todd Standings. I don't know if anybody knows who Todd
Yeah, well,
Standings is.
yeah.
Okay. So, but well, that's another thing. But
I,
he
I,
never.
I, I don't know about the mind speak thing. I mean, it's not happened to me. Now, I'm from the paranormal side.
Oh,
And
great.
so it's kind of weird. Like when something happens like that and you start hearing these voices and things, you know, I don't know what to think because I don't know exactly who I'm talking to. I mean, they could say they're my grandma, and I know that it might not be my grandma. You know what I'm saying? But if something I'm out in the woods, which I've had all different kinds of activity, you know, alien, paranormal, cryptid in the woods. So
Woo.
I'm sitting there, and if something's telling me or making me believe that it's Bigfoot, I would be sitting here going, "How do I know you're Bigfoot?"
Exactly. And it's funny you said that. Okay, my last excursion, I had a friend come in from Maryland, and he's into pretty much the ghost thing, the UFO thing, but he never
Mhm.
been big, bigfooting or squatching. And I
Oh,
promise, if you fly down, I'll make a point to do all of it with you.
right.
We spent 2 days in mausoleums and stuff. Picked up some EVPs. Got another weird picture. Somebody was at the end of a mausoleum looking in, which he's got. It was just pretty cool and stuff for 2 days. So then we went squatching for 2 days, and we were getting this guy. He's I'll be frank. He has a little autism and stuff.
Mhm.
So
Mm.
was he bringing in things? I don't know. That's other
It,
type
it
of research. Right.
that
But here's
yeah,
the thing.
that's something that
So here's the thing. I go take him squatching.
Mhm.
So I think it was the second night. I was telling him, yeah, we'll go out and we'll do some knocks and do some parabolics and stuff. And the first knock he did, he got a response, come back through the parabolic. So I'm like, wow, cool. That's really cool. That was interesting and stuff.
Mhm.
So it was getting late, and I was like, I had mentioned earlier we can go back and do a base camp, cook bacon and all. Bobo always says on Finding Bigfoot, bacon's the key. When you're out there,
Again.
cook the bacon, you can't resist.
Everybody loves
So
bacon.
we do it every once in a while. So I said, yeah, I was telling him, man, maybe we'll go down and, I'll play some guitar and we'll party and, and just
Exactly.
do some bacon and hang out. Well, it was already after 1 or something. He's like, hey, when are we going to go do the bacon? I was going, you really up to it? I said, sure. So we went back and we did it. And I have one of our researchers is a greenhorn, and she does the cooking, and she's working her way into it to be a member and stuff. And she happened to look up while she's cooking bacon and goes, oh, we're not the only ones walking down doing trails at night. And there was only like one other camper in this spot where, and it was a massive camping area. And I looked and he looked, and we saw like a person walking in the dead edge of our light because we had some lights in the trees and the fire going and have you. And I looked and I said, yeah, it's his camper. And he goes, no, look at him. And then when I looked again, we're all looking at him. There's these two barricades that go into the service road where they're making a new restroom portable thing.
Mhm.
And we're all looking, and this guy disappeared. The body just disappeared. Then we're just like, where'd he go? And all of a sudden, we see the shadow go across these two barricades that have luminescent stripes. But you could, because of our fire, you can see they were illuminating a little bit. But you could see this. I mean, plain as day, shadow walk, and it was tall, and and you could still see the reflectiveness strips behind it. And we just all looked at each other like, I don't know. Did you? It's like I thought, what did you bring with you? I hope
Right.
it's nice. I was hoping it's nice
Right.
because you seem to be drawing a lot of weird stuff, dude. And he's going, I didn't bring nothing. He's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. He said,
Yeah, that's
first
why I
of all, I
believe
saw
that.
the. Yeah, he told me. He said, I saw some eye shine or these red eyes first, and that's why I said, "There's the guy walking or what have you." And I was like, "Wow, dude, wow!"
Yeah,
And we
that's
all saw him. I mean, her
yeah.
saw him, and he saw him, and then it disappeared, and then there's the shadow. I'm talking maybe 50 yards, and wow, it blew my mind. Even today, he still tells me wow, it's the greatest time I ever had. Greatest time. I want to come back. I want to come back. But yeah, I think it was because he's a little bit autistic and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah.
That
They
they
get
can
very
sense.
perceptive.
Yeah, because I had back in the we were talking about a nonprofit that we had, the Skunk Ape Project. There was a gentleman. He's actually, we'll see him on the film, but he had a really bad cancer of melanoma, whereas he had no ear and no nose and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So and all this, but man, that man would have the most interesting encounters and stuff that we had found. He would be camping, and then he'd wake up, and there would be these mice that were wrapped in like palmetto fronds, almost like a leaf burrito, and the rats would be live, and they would leave it for him. And I just thought, wow, that used to blow my mind too. It's like, and he'd always have these like strange encounters like that they would come in and throw stuff at him, sometimes sticks, and it was crazy. So I kind of think that they can sense sick people and kids and different. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
No, I
keep
think
an open mind.
No, I think you're onto something. That's autistic folks, the women, children, and families. Like as I said, just families that they're just going out to have a good time in camp. They have no agenda. Spend family time. I think there's a lot to be said about that, and also being in Florida. I mentioned how I believe all these things are connected. I truly believe that, and you kind of lean that way yourself. What can you talk about when you've been out doing your research? Have you come across any UFOs in the sky, any lights in the skies, and then maybe you thought you heard unusual footprints around your base camp? Anything that
Yes.
kind of interrelated together?
Yes. One of our other members, she is going across the country as we speak, Miss Julia Sims, and she's done a few podcasts here and there. And she had an encounter on her own of a UFO encounter, to where I think the story, how it goes, was that when she was like 13 and all that, they were having a sleepover with her friends, and they all seemed to have gotten sick, and then they passed out, and she woke up in the morning and she had these like oozing black bubbles all over her back, and it's just a crazy story. And they've done research with her and hypnosis and stuff, and it's coming out abducted. She was abducted and stuff. So yes. So we're always not, plus I tell everybody, when you got that thermal, always check trees, but I'm always looking at the sky, because what better chance to observe stars and objects in, the complete darkness of these forests where no city lights and stuff. And yes, we have encountered technically UFOs, because we don't know what they're identified, but they surely don't act like, Air Force or, any kind of thing that we see.
Right.
It's happened. It happens. Yeah, and we'll be.
And the more time you spend out in the woods, you'll see them more often, for sure.
We were at this place called Lake Door with my scientist and her husband, and this is when we had come back to the camp, and we were sitting on the lake, and we just kept seeing these lights going straight up, and then more would come out, and she's like, "Oh, I'm doing some research. That's Starlink. They're shooting off Starlink stuff." Like, the Starlink don't look like that. Have you ever seen Starlink? The
Yes.
little the things. I go, well, they're shooting them up, and then I was going, well, if they're shooting them up, where is it? Texas. And I go, well, that direction is not Texas. and we watched this for 45 minutes. We could not figure it out. This light would come out. It seemed like out of the horizon from way back in the lake. And then more would come out, and they'd go and they'd zigzag, and then more would pop out of it. And none of us could get any footage. I had a GoPro, so I didn't, think about it, but I couldn't pick it up on thermal. I couldn't get it, it was just every time you try to zoom into something, it's hard. I understand the blurry Bigfoot stuff, because if you do not have stabilization, just the most is going to give you a crappy picture.
I took 7 selfies with me and my mom. I took her out for New Year's Eve. Out of the 7, 1 was not blurry.
Oh, nice.
Rob is horrible at pictures. I'm just going to, everybody else has to take him. He can't take a picture.
Yes, Brandy knows.
Yeah, he can't take a picture to save his life. Now, I have seen strange lights going on in the skies at night, and we have like where we can watch the satellites, and then aircraft flight plans, all of that kind of stuff. So we're like searching through to see if there's any flights coming through, anything like that, and they're unexplained. If it's a satellite, you can pretty much tell it's a satellite.
Right. And yeah, and I'm like you too. Like we try to debunk it. We don't want to see what the flight paths or where the nearest airports are and stuff like that. But
Yes.
yeah. But I'll tell you what I have seen before. One time was orbs. A type of orb. I wouldn't say the kind of orbs that people talk about that are big and stuff. These were more, if I was to explain it, have you ever seen a headlamp that has the red setting on it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what it reminded me of, like maybe two guys walking in the woods. And we thought it was two of our other team members, but we found out they were like 5 miles away doing a sitting in a stand somewhere. And matter of fact, that all three of us saw it, that we sat down and waited for them. But, oh, look, somebody's coming out of the trails or coming through the woods. And we all looked and go, yeah, it looks like red headlights. And it's going, yeah, but they sure are acting funny, because they were just like, and we
Yeah.
waited. So we sat down and waited, and we watched them come out, and then they just took off. What was it?
I had run across the same thing, exactly the same things, but all different kinds of colors, and that was in the land between the lakes. We had seen just different colors, and some of them to me look like fireworks, like just little
Oh,
itty
yeah.
bitty, like a sparkler type thing,
Right.
where they would just kind of like sparkle and then they would disappear. And then there was like somebody had seen a golden looking one where it just kind of zipped right across and then went straight up and then disappeared. Yeah, that stuff is I'm finding very common in the wood, very common.
I've seen flashes and come out of the ground just like somebody had taken a picture, but that could be, explainable. I'm not a scientist. I
Mhm.
mean, everybody says they're a Bigfoot expert. When they say that, I laugh because there ain't no expert.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
they're gonna tell you it's swamp gas. That's
Yeah.
it.
yeah,
It's swamp
I
gas.
will tell you, Stevie, when I come across it is very rare, thankfully, when someone says they're an expert in any of these fields we talk about, I start running in the other direction, man.
There you go. There you go. And you know what really works is us working together.
That's
Yes.
right.
Yes, we do.
Like you tell me what you've done, what you find with kids and women, and what you have said about that.
Yes.
Mhm.
I'm collecting that now, and I will keep that in my data. That
And
you're green.
yeah, and I
Yeah,
love you said,
I do have to say this, I got to say this, but when you're
Yeah.
talking about women and pheromones, make sure they're of age. I'm over that. I just don't have that anymore. So
but they
I'm just
still
putting it
love
out
Brandy,
there.
though. Brandy
You
still
know,
is a magnet, though. She really is.
Yeah. I think I know everybody. Back in the day, I've been with serious group. Don't smoke. Don't wear deodorant. Don't brush your teeth.
Oh,
Don't
yeah, come
wear
on.
deer intestines. Put your clothes in dirt for 2 days. Stuff like that.
Hey,
I don't hunt. I don't hunt like that. I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't want them to know I'm hunting. I'm going to be. I tell us, you got to talk. We like to walk in the dark though. But we like to know that we're like part of
Yeah.
the forest. And then just
Yeah.
being cool. Yeah, and that way, you're not hunting.
just be you.
just be, that's a great point, Brandy. That's what I talk. Yeah, that's excellent. Be you when you're in the forest doing what you're doing, and just have your intentions pure. Don't go out there with the mindset, I'm looking for the Bigfoot. I want the $1 million photo or video.
Right.
You know,
And let's shampoo of women smell good.
Yeah, hey,
Yeah.
I can see something going. Oh, that smells pretty good. Oh,
Yeah.
I can see something.
when I'm at the grocery store, if I smell a nice, pretty scent, I'm going around that corner to see what girls down that, down that shopping aisle, right? It's just a man thing.
There you go. But
Yeah.
most guys aren't. But most guys aren't going to take off their hiking boot out in the woods. You'll
Yeah,
spray
hell no.
everything away for 100
Hey,
miles.
and I tell you what, there's such a fallacy about don't light tobacco or have a smoke in the woods because
No.
the First Nations will tell you
Tell
in
you, leave it.
stories I've heard from the 1800s, Bigfoot loves their tobacco.
Oh yeah, I actually do. I encourage smoking. I encourage saging, stuff like that all the time. I've saged numerous times out there. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
It wouldn't be right for me not to at least touch on this before for this show because I read it and I have no clue what this is about. Dude, 3 million views on your documentary. And I got all the links posted here in the description. Again, I clap again. That's I can't imagine that.
Amazing.
What was this? How'd you put this together? And if you can briefly tell us what the hell is this all about?
All right. So when I was working with my partner at the time with Best Dude Film LLC, and we won't go into names and stuff like
Yeah.
that because it turned out bad. But um, in Florida, there are some really magnificent researchers that's done it as long as I have. So when I thought about this movie, to produce a movie, and if I was going to be the executive producer also, that means if I was going to invest in it, I wanted to make good, better than any, more than what I've been seeing on, some of these movies. And I wanted to do it as a more like a, truthful with some of the best researchers. Well, guess what? A lot of them didn't like each other. Like this person said, I'm not going to go into the names, but if you watch the movie, some of them will say, I wonder which one's he talking about. But yeah, but some of them are famous, some are dead now. But I got to all of them to finally agree, hey, aren't we all looking for the same thing, the truth? Don't we want to share our experience and work together rather against each other? So they all finally kind of could see that. And so that's what we did. And some were already ready to jump in. And then I said, just bring some of your best stories and some of your best people and some of your best research tactics and stuff. And we did it, which is now called the Skunk Ape Lives. And that's the one. Now it's gotten pulled, but I'm going to redistribute it. Or if you friend me, I got boxes behind me, hundreds of them. So I can, help you out if you want to, if you still watch DVDs. I don't know if those people do.
Oh, you know what? I was just in a movie. Yes, I was. Dawn of the Dog Man. And I got
Nice.
the DVD, which I don't have a DVD player, but
I
it's
told
on
you I'll
Apple.
write you one.
Oh, nice. But
Well,
yeah, but if you get a hold of me, or get on my website or any of that, I can get you a copy. But it will soon be put back on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
It was there, but I actually I did my most. The views were on Les Stroud's site.
Okay.
And yeah, so he
Well,
really loved
regardless,
it.
man, you got
He
your.
got it. Well, I have Cliff Barrickman. He's on it. I
Yeah,
have
well,
my
you got some-
scientists, and they all tell their Class A sightings, and then I have my the infamous Stacy Brown Sr. at the very end. God
okay.
rest his soul. He's
Yeah.
was one of my best friends.
Okay.
The senior.
Well, it sounds like there was a nice cast. It sounds like a fantastic thing that I definitely want to check out.
Sure. And we have Ray Monolith. She's on a lot of the Science Channel a lot, and she runs the Florida BFROs, a lot of the sightings here. And we have the infamous, the last and least was Scott Marlowe, who passed us years ago. He was the first one to bring cryptic zoology as a college subject to Florida. And what a great man that guy was. He used to do a lot of Discovery Channel stuff and stuff. But yeah, that was the last thing he did. So I was very honored that he was on there. And yes, and the stories are really good, really good. And so they're all stories and views on these certain researchers and things like that. So
Sir Brian's in the house. He says,
Oh, my
"Creature
man.
Man for life." Sir Brian,
Oh.
drop your link too, because Sir Brian's got a great channel. Third Eye Live. Brian Bowden. Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, I get to see him at the end of the month. I'm exciting at the Vanishing premiere in Gardendale, Alabama. Yeah, it's
Yes.
from Relics Film Media, and it's going to be an awesome thing. They're going to do a premiere of his new documentary, plus they're going to have speakers, and it's going to be a whole conference thing. So I'm excited. If you want to come see us, just go to Eventbrite to the Vanishing premiere, or I found it under Relic Films Media as the host. It was a lot easier, but yeah. Oh my God. I can't wait for all this. But Brian, I'll be seeing you.
Yes, Sir Brian Bowden, the man with 14,000 podcasts and climbing. Really quickly, I want to show this for Stevie. Stevie Strings, the rockin' squatchin' roller, and there's his logo, CreatureMan Research Team.
That's fantastic.
Yes, that's pretty sweet. Where can people find you, Stevie?
On Facebook, you can find if the link's in there, you'll find my stewiesplayhouse.com. And that's where you'll find everything from my films to purchasing stuff. And then, of course, I have a YouTube channel, but it's not all about Bigfoot. It's all about just crazy Stevie Strings that my little son started 18 years ago.
Oh, wow.
It's got
Cool.
music and some
So you got
investigation stuff.
something to really pass down, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's
Fantastic.
wonderful. It's the wonderful thing about the internet. When we're all long gone, these shows will still be watched. We'll be making small royalties when we're passed away, and they'll just be sitting there, turning into millions.
That's Sir Brian. That's Sir Brian. He's a special in my heart, and he's honorary cryptid researcher for CreatureMan too. He'll tell you the stories. Yeah, yes, I did wear his ass out. He'll deny it, but yeah.
Well,
it was worth it because they came and visited him in his car, in his truck.
I will tell you about Sir Brian. He's been on my show a handful of times. I met Sir Brian not in person, maybe 6 or 7 years ago on some other channel. I found him and we became friends and things like that. And I've had him on my show probably a dozen times in the last 3 or 4 years. And I could always, every time I would talk to Brian, he has all these crazy, cool experiences in life, right? And I'm like, this guy, Brian, man. So I finally met him in person, in the flesh and blood, along with Brandy. We're down in Missouri.
Missouri.
Missouri, yes.
Yeah.
Oh wow, thanks, Brandy. And me and Brian, I knew we would be great friends. We were great friends prior to meeting. We just hit it off. We had a lot of good times together. But I gotta tell you, when I talked about Brandy being a magnet for weird, Sir Brian. So this was a lot of this trip was business, a little. It was for a conference, socializing, and we just hung out, had a good time. Went to a couple restaurants, and we did a little bit of research. Right, we went to this crazy haunted location, Maya's Village. Sir Brian saw all these weird things, and he also saw weird things from across the road while we were all at this haunted location that he's seen. And I'm like, yeah, that's Sir Brian, man. He sees everything. And he pointed things out that were not supposed to be there. I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, it was very creepy, but cool. I don't find it to be creepy. Creepy, cool, man.
He is one amazing character. I will say that he's one of the better contributors to knowledge that I've ever seen. He's the Britannica of everything, but he definitely, that remote viewing, I'm really into astral projection. I keep that open mind and all that, but he blew my mind, and I thought, this guy's the real deal, because he said he was so far away from us, and we were having something going on, and he was telling me things that he had to have been there, that he saw me doing, and that we were going to do, and they happened. And yeah, ever since then, I am definitely, not that I ever doubted him, but yeah.
No, I never doubted him, but man, in flesh and blood, there was things that he was seeing that we were kind of, yeah, Brian's onto something here. And in fact, Brian, I got to thank him one more time. He gave me to come on the show. So thanks to Brian for that as well. I really enjoyed this. Yes, Brian, once again with the super chat. With that being said, let me go through this a little bit here. I want to thank Gary for 5 new pirates. Benno for the super chat.
Gary. Nice,
right. Gary Pops, Moon at Noon. Member for 5 months. Sir Brian.
Yeah.
Sir Brian again. Subscribe to the Blondes and the Booze and look up all the links for Stevie Strings. They're all listed in the description of this show. I do appreciate that. Also, hit up Bigfoot Fidesz. Bigfoot Fidesz. She is so awesome. Subscribe to her. And my buddy Coley, SNX Radio, we've been doing some work together. She's got a great show as well. Go check her out. And a text is on after this in another half hour or so. Any final thoughts, Stevie?
Well, like I said earlier, all of us, like you, Sir Brian, we all need to just start sharing our experiences, our data, working together. If I'm over there in your area of town, let's go do things. If you're in here, please add your techniques or what you out of the box, in the box. I mean, and Sir Brian's a good example of that because he brought a lot
Yeah.
of something into us.
The
Even
one
though he
thing-
said he said I wore him out, but he told me we should have stayed at the base camp, Stevie. Look at
Yeah.
all this, and he was right.
That's a great point because what you bring up, because myself with Brandy and Kristen and Tex, Paranormal Paul, Monica, Sir Brian, now yourself, it's okay. You don't have to agree with everything somebody says, right? That's why if we all agreed to the same, number one, it'd be boring. You never get any answers, or you would never expand on your thought process. I don't want to hang out with the same people. I want like-minded people, but I don't want to necessarily be around people that believe exactly as I believe. That gets old after a while.
It does.
Exactly.
You know?
And think out of the box.
Yes,
and
correct.
try new things, and share your results.
Share.
Absolutely.
Yes, don't be greedy. Don't be greedy.
Yeah.
There's a million people doing this, you guys. Who cares?
Yeah, there's so many people doing it now. I mean, now is the time that we need to collaborate and to get this information out, because I may know something, you may know something, and then if we put it together, we may find out something big. So hey,
we might
try
it. And speaking of something big,
it.
Everyone stick around because the lovely Fidesz put together an extra, or is it called outro? I think
Either one. Either one.
Yes,
Same difference.
some people are walking the plank tonight, mateys, and that's gonna be featured in this video. So stick around and watch that and subscribe to Fidesz. Thank you, Stevie, my man. And for everybody, thanks for coming on.
Brandon.
Hit that like button, share, and subscribe on your way out. As I just look for it, here it is. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian. And Tex, go check out Tex in about 28 minutes.
Yes.
Thanks for watching Bigfoot, Michigan, Rob, and beyond. Join the many. Join the few. Tuesday night p.m. Eastern, the squad is complete. Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern, we bring the heat. Saturday 11 p.m. Eastern, the fire is on, the hunt is on, the roar is strong. Hit subscribe, ring the bell.